what happened as that these members of Congress, including the mayor as well, and a mob of protesters, as there was a bus full of detainees going through the gate, they stormed the gate and actually entered the first security checkpoint. This put law enforcement at risk, and this actually put the detainees as well at risk. If any official, including these members of Congress, want to enter the facility and take a tour, DHS is more than accommodating, but just because you're a member of Congress does not mean you can break the law, trespass, put law enforcement at risk, and storm the detention facility. I have yet to hear anyone on this network actually talk about who is in this detention facility. There are members of MS-13, known terrorists, murderers, child rapists. There are some of the worst in this detention facility, and I'm still very confused why these Democrats are so hell-bent on getting these heinous actors out of this facility when we have the proper permitting. And actually, in that press conference, those members of Congress actually noted the great conditions of this facility that our ICE enforcement officers so bravely operate. So this is a cheap political stunt that this mayor who's running for a higher office wanted his 15 minutes of fame, and he's willing to do it on the backs of our law enforcement officers. By trespassing, by storming that facility, he put our law enforcement officers at risk, he put our staff at risk, and he actually put the detainees themselves at risk. But what I would like to ask the mayor is, who does he want out of that facility? Is it the MS-13 gang members? Is it the known terrorists? Is it the child rapists? Is it the murderers? Which of these heinous actors does he want out of this detention facility?
That's a really good question. Now, you recently hinted that there could be additional arrests made in this protest. There were 3 Democrat members of Congress that were also allegedly there, allegedly stormed the facility and got into a physical altercation with federal agents. Do you see any of those members of Congress possibly being charged?
Members of Congress and any public official is not above the law. You cannot body slam, body ram, shove, strike, or otherwise assault a law enforcement officer. Everything is still on the table. I'll leave that to the Department of Justice, but it is despicable to watch members of Congress assault law enforcement, and we will do everything we can to protect our brave law enforcement who so bravely operate this facility, and we thank them every day, Mark.
So let me jump in because I know that you probably got to run, but let's start off with the most pressing thing. What in the heck is going on with James Comey? Is there anything you can discuss? I understand it's probably a touchy subject right now, but do you think we're gonna see some action?
This is an active investigation with the U.S. Secret Service, so I'm not going to get ahead of them with that, but I will say the fact that James Comey, who's the former head of the FBI, he's claiming he doesn't know what 8647 is, and yet he would post it on his own social media and then delete it. Does he think the American people are stupid? It's insulting to our intelligence. We know exactly what he was trying to communicate, and it's un-American, it's wrong, and it's despicable.
Now, you're in HHS, and as I saw, Kash Patel posted yesterday that this is going to be a Secret Service-led investigation, however that investigation goes. I know you can't say anything about it, and just tell me no, I can't go there at all, but is there actually something being investigated? I guess I'm trying to tread carefully without getting you in trouble, but try to get some information. Is it not being blown off? Is it actually being looked at?
No, this is absolutely not being blown off.
Okay.
We are actively investigating this. I mean, the president was shot not even a year ago. And this is not the kind of rhetoric we need in this country, especially when it comes to the safety of our leaders, Barry. You know this.
Right, exactly. So I just read this post about Alina Haba. Again, active investigation, everybody. But people are saying that these charges could come as soon as today. Not going to ask you about that. But what I'm going to ask you in regards to those charges is, what makes these people think that they are above the law? Because we've seen the threat by AOC. We've seen threats by Hakeem Jeffries where he's like, yeah, you don't want to do this. I'm like, well, you're answering a threat with more threats. That must really make you guys kind of look sideways at these people.
And Barry, I believe that you're referring to the Delaney Hall Detention Center, in which 3 members of Congress and the mayor of Newark stormed that facility. There was just to give the viewers the facts here, there was a vehicle that was entering the gates of that facility. They took that opportunity to storm, to trespass, to break the law. And then I'm sure a lot of your viewers saw the footage from the body cam of our law enforcement officers who are so bravely protecting that facility. LaMonica McIver, who's a congresswoman, she was body slamming, body ramming, striking, pushing, shoving, whatever you want to call it. It was assault. She was assaulting our ICE enforcement officers. And I haven't heard from the DOJ what exactly is going to happen, if she's going to be charged or not. But I look forward to hearing that reporting.
Oh, we all do. So recently a judge said that the Aliens Enemies Act, the AEA as is referred to, can indeed be used. I'm sure they're going to try and sue and move it up to SCOTUS, but what does that big win that you guys have mean moving forward? I guess at this point you're going to unleash Tom Homan.
I think we've already unleashed Tom Homan, but President Trump is giving us every tool possible, including the Alien Enemies Act that was passed by Congress decades and decades ago. And this allows us to get the worst of the worst out of this country. The Supreme Court acknowledged that there has been an invasion of our country. We know, Barry, that in the last 4 years, 15 to 20 million people illegally entered this country. That is absolutely an invasion. We know there's hundreds of thousands vicious criminal aliens, including members of MS-13, Tren de Aragua, murderers, rapists, known terrorists, and we are going to use every authority possible that the president and Congress give us to get these monsters out of our country.
And, with the whole trip to El Salvador and everything that they were doing, but now it seems like they're on to the next grift, I would say. Are we over the Maryland man saga, or is that still an issue as well?
I sure don't think so. I think that the Maryland man is still the sob story that the Democrats and the media are trying to peddle. We just saw this week in Secretary Noem's hearing, they were deeply challenging the secretary on this, but she has the law, she has the facts on her side. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a known MS-13 gang member. He's a human smuggler, and he's a wife beater, according to his own wife's written and verbal testimony.
Now, I don't know if you saw the video, but one of my childhood, I used to really love Bruce Springsteen. He gets up on stage and starts running with the Democrat mantra about people getting deported and snatched up off the street, and then we're deporting Americans. Can you set the record straight? Have any Americans been deported?
There is not a single U.S. citizen who has been deported, and there will not be a single U.S. citizen who is deported. We follow the law. We follow the Constitution, Barry.
And how? I mean, I understand there was one incident where a lady decided to take her child with her. The child wasn't deported. The mom was deported, correct? And they've somehow conflated that to being that the child was deported. What option did she have? She had to go. What option did the child have? Were there relatives here that they could have left her with?
Barry, we're not separating families. We're not ripping them apart. Instead, we're giving parents the choice. If they want the child to stay in the U.S., they can be with the state or with a safe guardian or relative, or the parent has the choice to take the child with them home.
Well, sounds pretty simple to me. They should know it. And by the way, you came here illegally. You had to know there were going to be some repercussions. So if you could say right now, why do you think the media, because you were just on CNN, we played a clip there. Why do you think the media is working so hard overtime to advocate on behalf of gang members and terrorists?
It was unbelievable, Barry, the juxtaposition between Secretary Noem and President Trump's message and what their actions, which is getting MS-13 gang members, terrorists, criminals out of this country and off of U.S. soil. And then you see juxtaposed these 3 members of Congress and the mayor of Newark, and of course, Senator Van Hollen, who are fighting to get terrorists back onto U.S. soil, and these vicious gang members and known terrorists out of detention facilities and onto U.S. streets. It's a good reminder for Americans who is actually fighting for them and fighting for American victims versus illegal alien criminals.
Now, you guys flipped the script with that CB1 app where they were using it to fly people in, and you guys are using it to fly people out. After all this has been happening and so much has been in the news, are you seeing an uptick in self-deportations after the program was retooled?
We absolutely are, Barry. I think that this is actually a phenomenal idea by the Trump administration. We're giving those who are in this country illegally a very clear choice. They can get a free flight and ticket home and take control of their journey. As well, we will give them $1,000 to begin their life back at home. This is incredibly generous of U.S. taxpayers. It also is about a 70% savings for U.S. taxpayers, considering the cost of arrest and detainment and deportation is about $17,000 versus the cost for self-deportation is about $4,000. So that's the choice. They can take that $1,000 and a free ticket and have the potential to potentially come back the right legal way into the U.S. and live the American dream. On the other side, if they decide to not take advantage of self-deportation, they decide to stay in this country illegally, they will be fined $1,000 a day. They will be arrested, deported, and never allowed to come back to this country, Barry.
Now, two things that happened in the last 24 hours. Didn't have a chance to speak with your assistant about it. One, I see that the president of Mexico is freaking out about the possibility of remittances being stopped, which is, for those of you guys who don't know, that's where the people who are illegals here work somehow under the table or whatever, and then they send their money back to Mexico. And she's losing it. Obviously, she needs that money in her economy. Is that something that you guys may be actually doing in terms of a part of the efforts to get them to self-deport? Yeah.
Barry, I think everything is on the table. I will say that this administration is dedicated to removing the incentives for people to come to this country illegally. And again, these illegal immigrants have that choice. They can leave now, self-deport, get that $1,000 and a free plane ticket, or they can be removed by force and never allowed to come back to this country.
And if you come back the right way, because my father came from Jamaica, I don't even know what the process is now, because nobody ever talks about the right way. How long would it take for someone to go through, or if you know, I know you're in Homeland Security, not so much in naturalization services, but how long does it take someone to get through the door the front way, and how far back is the backlog?
It's a case-by-case basis. I think you're right. We need to be talking more about legal immigration. And unfortunately, we saw that process exploited under the Biden administration as well. We saw a lack of vetting and a bastardization of a lot of programs like temporary protected status, which is supposed to be temporary and for people who are in desperate need. That's not for people to be using for a quarter of a century. Other parolee programs that were bastardized as well. So we're kind of just having to start from the beginning and make sure we know who is in this country and that we have integrity again in our legal immigration system.
You know, one of the things that's blown up in the last 24, 48 hours is the people from South Africa. They've tried to deny that these people were in any danger whatsoever, when anyone who has a half a brain knows that what's been going on over there. Do you expect that to continue? And as it continues, you can go ahead and kill some of their narratives. How are you guys vetting those people coming in?
Well, Barry, I can assure you and your audience, these people are being thoroughly vetted. But what I do find interesting is that the media and the Democrats are so vehemently attacking these 60 people who have come into this country who have been granted asylum. These people have faced racist violence. They've had their land seized by the government just because of the color of their skin. And this has been state sanctioned by South Africa. But what the media isn't talking about and Democrats are not talking about is that 8,666 individuals have been granted asylum since the start of this administration. Wow. It leads me to believe, why are they criticizing these 60 individuals? And is it because of the color of their skin?
Yeah, I mean, it's bad enough that you want to die on the hill of the Maryland man, and that you then want to, bum rush your way into a detention center. But now you got another hill that you want to die on. That I've got to believe the American people look at this and go, "You're complaining because these people are white?" What? I mean, it's insane. So I know you're busy. Last question for you: if you have call it like balls and strikes like an umpire, what do you think is going to happen with the Supreme Court in regards to stopping these crazy injunctions? And I guess even more so, how's the testimony and hearing ended yesterday? Number one, are you expecting a ruling anytime soon? And how do you think that ruling would play out?
Sorry, which case is this for? We are facing a historic number of injunctions, Barry, as you know.
This one was for the birthright citizenship, and then they coupled that for some reason with trying to stop the universal injunctions.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the president is facing a historic number of injunctions. We knew that going into this administration that we were going to be facing activist judges. Listeners and viewers should know that we have deportation flights going out almost every single day. So while there might be some hiccups and battle, we are going to win this war against the invasion of our country and deliver on the president's mandate to get criminal illegal aliens out of this country.
And you haven't stopped, correct?
We haven't stopped and we won't slow down.
That's what I want to hear. All right, Trish, I hope you have a safe weekend. I know there's still a lot of stuff going on. We'd love to have you back as more information unfolds, especially if Alina Haba drops the handcuffs on these people, or if Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Director Curran do anything with James Comey. Thank you very much for taking the time. Don't worry, anytime you want, we can do the zoom in on your lipstick all the time.
Thank you, Barry.
All right, bye-bye.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye.